Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial by Zebra Code. In this tutorial, we are going to look at the while loop in Python. The while loop is one of the features for performing repetitions in Python. There are three main components to it, and in the process of this tutorial, we will look at each and every one of the three main components. What you will learn in the process of this video, we will look at the while loops in Python. We will consider the three main components of a while loop in the Python programming language. We will fix problems of infinite loops. This is a kind of problem that usually occurs if you do not actually add the three main components. Then we will branch and loop within loops in the course of doing this while loop video. This is a diagrammatic representation of the while loops in the Python programming language. Here we can see the three main components that are needed for a while loop in Python. Component number one, we initialize a test condition variable. This variable is usually outside the while loop statement or the while loop condition. Then component number two is where we actually test the while loop condition, and that is followed by the code block or the statement. With these two first components, we can run a while loop. However, there is a problem that can occur in that regard. That is, we may end up having an infinite loop. To prevent that from happening, we have to add the third component. That is, updating the test condition variable that we are testing in the while loop condition. Now, with this out of the way, let's actually write some programs that have the while loop condition in them. Alright, now let's test the while loop in Python by writing some actual code. To do that, I have created a file and I named it whileloop.py. You can create a file and name it whatever you like, or name it with this name. So let's write our first while loop. I'm going to create a variable here, x equals 1. Now, the while loop, while x is less than or equals to 8, put a colon at the end of the while loop line, print x. This is the statement. If we run this code, it will run, but we will run into trouble. That is, we will get an infinite loop. To prevent that from happening, we will now say x equals s plus 1. Then move out of the loop, print whatever statement you want to print there. Now the loop is over. Save your file and run it. Great. Here we can see the variable s was assigned the value 1, and we use the while loop to test if s is less than or equals to 8, print x. That is, it loops first, it goes through it, s is less than or equals to 8, it prints 1. It goes through it again, it's still less than or equals to 8, it prints 2. It goes on until it reaches the last number, which is 8. It cannot go further because s is less than or equals to 8. And now it prints the statement here. Now the loop is over. So this is our first example with the while loop in Python. I'm going to put a comment right above it. Example 1. Now, let's write another example. Example 2. I'm going to create two variables here. The first one is y equals to 0. The second one is k equals to 6. We are going to run a while loop here. While variable y is less than or equals to k colon here, then the statement. Print y. Again, y equals y plus 1. Let's go out of the loop and print a statement. Lovely job. So let's run our code again and see the result. Great. Shows here y is equals to 0. Y is less than or equals to k, print y. Y is actually less than k, so it's printing a y each time it loops until it reaches the letter 6. Then it prints the statement here, print lovely job. Good. Now let's run another example. Example 3. I am also going to create a variable here. I equals 0. And let's run the while loop on it. While I is less than 23, colon, print what? Print I. Again, I equals I plus 1. Let's go out of the loop and print something. What are we printing here? We print all is done. Before I run this code, let me quickly explain something to you here. I is equals to 0. That is the variable we set here, which is element 1, one of the 3 key elements we mentioned earlier. And element 2 is now actually the while loop. While I is less than 23, we are printing this statement. If we comment this one out now and run it, we will run into trouble. What is that trouble? We will have an infinite loop. Let's test that. Great. You can see it's running 0 continuously. It is an infinite loop. It is going to run infinitely. So let's stop this program and fix that problem. I have stopped it. Now to fix it, let's comment this one out. So it's going to be now again I equals I plus 1. This time when we run it, that problem of infinite loop will be solved. Let's run it. Great. It actually prints now from 0 to 22. I equals to 0, while I is less than 23, print I. I equals I plus 1. We say here why I is less than 23. That is why it's printing from 0 to 22. If we add equals to it now, so that it reads why I is less than or equals to 23, it will print till 23. That is, the result will now be from 0 to 23. Let's run that to see. Exactly. You can see now that the last number is 23. It's printing now from 0 to 23 because here we have specifically said to it while I is less than or equals 23, print I. So it's actually going to print from 0 to 23. I equals I plus plus. This is to prevent it from looping infinitely. This prevents the infinite loop. This is how you solve the problem of infinite loop in a while loop in Python. Great. That was example 3. Now let's run another example. Example 4. Now I'm going to create another variable n equals 1. Let's run the while loop. while n is less than 100, colon here, n equals 2 multiplied by n. And print n. Let's go out of the loop block and print something. Each result is multiplied by 2 until 100. And let's run our code to see the result. Great. You can see here it starts from 2. N equals 1, that is our variable, while n less than 100, that is our while loop. N equals 2 multiplied by n. So here you can see 2 was multiplied by n, and 4 multiplied by n, 8 multiplied by n, now 16 multiplied by n, 32, 32 multiplied by n, 64, 64 multiplied by n is 128. So 128 is more than 100. In that case, the loop will break. It will stop looping. It is not breaking out of the loop because 128 is more than 100. And the message here is each result is multiplied by 2 until 100. Can correct that here. Let's run it again. And the message here is each result is multiplied by 2 until 100. So that was another while loop example in Python. Let's run a few other examples. Example 5. If you notice, in our approach now we are actually working with the 3 main components. Component 1 is the variable condition. Component 2 is the while condition with the statement, while component 3 is where we actually update the test condition variable. Example 5, I'll create another variable a equals 0, b equals 0. Now the while condition, while b is less than 10, colon here, a equals a plus 1, b equals b minus 1. Now print a and b. This code will result in an infinite loop because b will never reach 10. That is the reason why it will result in an infinite loop. Let's run it. Exactly. You can see it is running infinitely. It is an infinite loop because we say here a equals to 0, b equals to 0. And the while condition here is b less than 10. A equals to a plus 1, b equals b minus 1. b, in this case, will never reach 10. That is why it keeps on looping. So the loop is always true, and there is no way here it will result to false. Because it is not resulting to false, it is going to continue looping. It will continue running. No matter how long you leave your computer for, this code will continue running. That is why it is called infinite loop. To stop that, terminate the program. In Python, press the red icon here to stop the program from running. Great. Now the program has terminated. So I'm going to comment this code out so that we can create more examples. Now it's in a comment. It is not going to run anymore. Let's write one more example. Example 6. Here is another variable, I equals to 0, total equals to 0, and the while condition. While total is less than 0, colon, I equals I plus 1. Total equals total minus 1. Print I total. In this case, nothing will be printed to the screen. There will be no output here because the statement total is less than 0 when the condition is first checked and the loop is never executed. So what that means is total is less than 0 when the condition is checked for the first time. And because it's less than 0, so there will be no output to the screen. So let's test this, run it. Exactly. You can see here there is no output, no result on the screen. So one thing, if you are from other programming languages, that is, if you have programmed in other programming languages before, the concept of while loop in some programming languages will result in I++, but in Python, that concept of I++ is not in the programming language. That is why we specifically say here I equals I plus 1. In some programming languages, you will see something like this, I plus plus, something like this. So it is not available in Python. That is why we use this I equals I plus 1, which is similar to I plus plus in other programming languages. So in this tutorial, we have looked at the concept of creating variables, then working with the while loop condition, printing statement, and updating the variable that is under test condition. I hope you have learned something from this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and bye for now.